What's up, Deckheads? Thanks for checking out Crash Command Games again. This time we're entering the armory, as you see here, with our girl, Ira. I'm not exactly really on time with this party, but I believe it's important for me to make a video about this at some point in time because I'm starting to see lots of new players in my local area pick up this deck. Lots means a couple. And it appears to be a very popular deck to pick up. On top of that, she's very good into Gravy Bones. Gravy Bones is a very overrepresented deck, so it makes newer players feel really good because out of the box, I have not done super hot against Ira in general, or most ninjas. So it's just wild to have such a good experience into such a meta-heavy deck with so little, right? So as traditional with Enter the Armory, we're going to be sitting here opening the box together, figuring it out, seeing what we have here, seeing if there's any differences between this and the last Armory deck, and let's get to it. All right, here we have the Armory deck Ira. Make sure your local game store is trying to adhere as best they can to MSRP. Good stores will be charging around $39.90. If you're charging more than that, you're not a bad store. You're just being a little greedy. $39.90 is about the price we're going to be looking at that. With every Enter the Armory, I like to give out a price guide to make sure that you're able to follow some kind of a path and a guide to help you take away a little bit of your thinking while you're learning the game. Because there's a lot to learn, and this is not a very easy process. So if I can ease that for you a little bit, I would love to get you into this game a little easier, okay? So let's go ahead and read this together. Ira, the Scarlet Avenger. Ira saw her childhood destroyed in a single dark night. From those ruins, she walked the path of the ninja with only one destination in mind. All right. Looks like she's from Mysteria, a place that we were just at. Edge of Autumn is the only legacy that remains of the Ikaru, and Ira wields the cursed blade against monsters that massacred the House of Blossoms. I didn't know that. We're learning all kinds of new stuff in and out with Ira. And all these armory decks, and that's really what I like about this product is, like with Jarl Vitrathy, we learn new things through the gameplay design elements and just little tidbits here and there, right? With her Crimson Haze ninjas at her side, Ira will keep going, fighting on until only the scars of her bitter past remain. Contains a complete 60-card classic constructed deck, plus a weapon and equipment for Ira. All right, so let's go ahead and check this out, okay? I always love the minimalist packaging. I really do. Though with Gravy Bones, I don't see it, but let's make sure it's gone before I say that. Okay, yeah. I don't know if this... Gravy Bones had like a how to play and how to build a blitz deck out of it, kind of add-on in there. And I don't see that here. So this must be printed. I don't see any way to tell if it was printed before Gravy Bones or after, but very nice display box available for you. If this is your first hero, much like if we zoom in back there, behind that trophy is my first hero, Dorinthia.
Oh yeah, suck it, sad girl.
I already like this. In a previous iteration of Enter the Armory, I did note that I hated that we didn't get a rainbow foil hero. Well, here we have that rainbow foil hero right off the bat. And then we have this little celebratory art right here, which I like a lot. It was very stylized, very cool. Easy to see, pull tabs somewhere right there. Get that out of here. And let's go ahead and take a look here at what we get here. That art is very good. That is Ira, the Scarlet Avenger. Kind of hard to read. So right here, we're going to go ahead and put up Ira for you to read while I read this. Your second attack each turn gets +1. That's it. That's the whole hero. Very simple, very effective. She was the intro first learn to play deck that I got. I don't have it with me here. I probably should have for cool factor. But it had awesome art that I'll display here, like these head jabs. Pretty cheap to get if you want to bling out your deck a little bit and give some fun art. All right. God, that rainbow foiling is very good. Let's see here. Very good rainbow foiling. Okay. Cards look to be in good shape. No factory defects in this one that I can tell so far. Let's go ahead and put her to the side. Next up, we have the Iris of Blossom. Discard a card. Search your deck. Oh, sorry. I have to start saying this now. Instant. Tap. Discard a card. That's the cost. Search your deck for a Whirling Mist Blossom. Banish it, then shuffle. You may play it this turn. Activate this only if you've hit this turn. Blade Break 2. What does this mean to you new players? This is a piece of armor that you're going to be wearing on your head, all right? And it basically says, at any point in time, if you've hit your opponent, you can go ahead and search your deck for a very powerful card that says draw 2 cards when this hits. Very versatile. You're trading a card for that, but that's totally fine. And then in an emergency situation, it has 2 armor to block with. Robe of Autumn's Fall. Let's get a look at this. All right, when Edge of Autumn you control hits, you may destroy this if you do gain a resource. Arcane Barrier 1. It's got Arcane Barrier, so it's worth keeping around. It gives you your first piece of Arcane Barrier that you can have in this game. I don't hate it. Chest piece is pretty valuable, though, so I don't know if we'll be keeping that. These look awesome. Let's get that rainbow foiling right there. All right, these are the Okana Scar Wraps. Attack reaction, tap, banish an Edge of Autumn you control. That's a lot of cost. Your hero's getting tapped and you're banishing your weapon. Let's see what it does. Target ninja attack action card gets +1 power. Target ninja attack action card gets +1. I would have liked if that said target attack gets +1. I don't see the harm in making it target attack +1, but I mean this is pretty decent so far. It's got a second ability that says when an attack you control with vengeance in its name hits, you may equip an Edge of Autumn from your banish zone. So there is a way to get your weapon back, but your opponent can very much so interact with that and make sure you don't. And it becomes a battle of, can I get my weapon back to finish the fight? Thematically, I love that. Blade Break 2. Blade Break 2 is also pretty decent. That means you have another set of 2 armor in your set. That's really decent. Just a Snapdragon Scalers non-foil. Thank you, LSS, for keeping up to your non-foils for already printed foils. This is just attack reaction. Destroy this. Target attack action card with cost 1 or less gets go again. 0 block, generic legs. These are okay to hold on to for a while for the budget builds of this deck. This equipment is actually looking pretty solid so far. And then we get to this main event here, Edge of Autumn. This card has long been kind of, what do I say? It's not been exciting for most ninjas to run. I have tried to make it work because I like this card so much. And now they've made payoff cards. We're going to see those later. This is just a very simple weapon. 1 power, 2-handed sword, once per turn action, 1 resource, attack, go again. So this is an action that has go again. It attacks. Very simple. It's a very simple way to get into Ira's ability of your second attack gets +1. Okay, so this equipment suite is actually pretty rock solid. This is a really, really decent start. Let's go ahead and get to the cards. Bam. Enact Vengeance. Combo. If Edge of Autumn or a card with Vengeance in its name was the last attack this combat chain, this gets, when this hits a hero, destroy all cards in their arsenal. So that's pretty awesome because it says destroy all cards in their arsenal. This is a build your own command and conquer. Costs 2, block 3, attacks for 6. The only difference is they can play defense reactions against this. But because you're playing this somewhere later in the chain, hopefully they've already exhausted some of their defense reactions. So you can play pretty smart with this. This has a good depth to it. It'll test a lot of skill on both player sides. Okay. How many of these do we get? Oh, great. We get 3 of these. That's perfect. So you have 3 command and conquer lights right there. Okay. We have Seek Vengeance. That was a majestic from this set. I'm so happy. I'm sorry. I'm just going to talk on this. I'm so happy they gave you 3 really powerful options to get into the armory. This is just awesome so far. Seek Vengeance. Okay. If Edge of Autumn was the last attack this combat chain, this gets go again. 0 for 4 with 3 block. Can't go wrong. With a possibility of getting go again, very high possibility of getting a go again. And if this is your second attack for the turn, it's a 0 for 5 with go again. Rock solid damage and value. You get 3 of these as well. Also the art, that striking red and blue, just fantastic. Flying Kick, one of the classic Ira cards right there. If this was played as Chainlink 3 or higher, it gets +2 power. It has 5 power to begin with. 3 defense, costs 2. Kind of hard with that 2 cost, but it blocks big, and if you plan a good turn, it hits big. Bittering Thorns Red for a while was coveted because I think it was only available in the Ira deck from Tolarian Community College's Round the Table. When this hits, your next attack this turn gets +1, power. Go again. It's her ability on a stick, 4 attack, 2 block. Rock solid card. Glad you get 3 of those. Soulbead Strike, I don't often run this unless I'm really trying to put a lot of pressure on aggro heavy format. And this is just a very simple card with 0 cost, 4 attack, 3 defense. I love all of that already. That's very good, very versatile card. And it's also when this hits, it gets go again. You get 3 of those. Very, very good chain extender. It's just hard to justify gambling a whole turn on the hit. And I would say the same is true with this card, Torrent of Tempo. 1 cost, 5 attack, 3 defense, all very good. When this hits, it gets go again. Same thing as Soulbead Strike, card from Crucible of War. The art is also really, really rad. One of the cards that showed her off for the first time, Scar for a Scar. And as we just saw on the box, this is kind of her theme. It's her clan was destroyed. And for that, she will come back for the vengeance. When this is played, if you have less life than an opposing hero, it gets go again. Just another one of those 0 for 4s. But this one has 2 block to justify this middle section. Get 3 of those, not too bad. I love to see this card right here, Give and Take. When an action card defends this, you may put an action card with cost less than its power from your graveyard on top of your deck. Gives you a little bit of recursion for 1 resource, 3 attack, 3 defense. If your opponent's low on life and they have to preserve what they can, this starts to become a very interesting prospect because it can put them in a lot of trouble. Another skill tester for both the defender and the attacker. I love this kind of play, and you only get 2 of those. Why do you only get 2 of those? Come on. Just give 3 of those. It's a totally fine card. We'll talk about that later. Snatch, classic card to include in most ninjas. When this hits, draw a card. 0 attack. 0 cost, 4 attack, 2 defense. On hit, draw a card is super great, specifically with Ira's ability of giving this +1 if it's the second attack. That means you're threatening 5 damage and getting an arsenal card if, for example, your turn was block with 2 of my cards, Edge of Autumn, bam, there's honestly, it's pretty fun to use. Good. I'm very happy to see you get 3 of these. Flick Flack, another very classic card for Ira. If the next card you defend with this turn is a card with combo, it gets +2 defense. So on the first chain, you could defend with Flick Flack as a reaction, and the next card you defend with could have 5 defense. This is what made Ira such a terror for a while, was she just had all these great options, and then she would do, as I said previously, attack with the Edge of Autumn, and then present a stupid on-hit, or just stupid value, 0 for 5, and she would just outvalue you over the game in the most grindy of ways. Interesting. Most of the time we see Sink Below reprints, we see a little sigil or something right there. This time we don't. This is just a 0 for 4 defense reaction. That is, you may put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. If you do, draw a card. Just another example of what Ira does. Just presents really good defensive value and then presents other way good value attacks. Interesting to see Razor Reflex as an addition in this deck. This is good for Soulbead Strike, Torrent of Tempos, Snatches, because, for 1, as a generic attack reaction, you can choose 1. Target dagger or sword weapon attack gets +3, or the target attack action card with cost 1 or less gets +3, and when this hits, it gets go again. So it could give that Snatch go again, and then you draw a card and you can continue your chain, or it continues the Soulbead Strike. Granted, it was going to get go again anyway if it hit, right? So super decent card right here. You get 3 of these. It's just funny that I've seen multiple, like Short and Sharp, a bunch of other cards that have been printed. They could not go stronger than this if they wanted to. So a lot of the newer attack reactions seem a little weak. That's just because this one was so good. And then we get to an Ira specialization card. Whirling Mist Blossom. Costs 1, defense for 2, attacks for 2. Seems weak. Why is that? It's an attack with go again that says, when this hits, and it's the second or higher chain link in a row to hit, draw 2 cards. Well, if your opponent's playing Gravy Bones and has all those allies, hit one with the Edge of Autumn, hit another with this. You've just drawn 2 cards, cleared 2 allies, and now your real turn has begun. Very powerful. This can be searched with the Iris of Blossom from your deck to come out at very threatening times. Another interesting prospect to talk about while we're looking at this card is Ira's ability of the second attack always getting +1. So you come in with that Edge of Autumn for the first attack, present a Whirling Mist Blossom for 1, or for 2, and now it becomes 3. Now your opponent has to start thinking, what do I need to do here? Am I blocking 3, or am I going to respect this and the Razor Reflex or the other effects that we're going to see later in this deck, right? Because realistically, if you come in with 3 with this, there's a lot of reaction in this deck that give like +1 or +3, and you need to start respecting it a lot more. All because of Ira's second ability, or first ability, only ability, all right? That's pretty, God, I love the art on this, and the rainbow foiling is so good. If I weren't hard dedicated to Gravy, I would just like to look at these cards all the time and just probably play Ira. Okay, so that's the Whirling Mist Blossom. You get 3 of her specialization. Very good card. And here we see Vengeance Never Rests, our first blue card. 3 attack, 3 defense, costs 1, it's blue. It says combo, which means if you meet these conditions, do this. I didn't really explain that in the beginning for the newer players, but very simple. Meet the conditions, let forth, and the combo's unleashed. If Edge of Autumn was the last attack this combat chain, this gets Go Again. And when this hits a hero, banish it. You may play it this turn. So this is an insane version of another card called Double Strike, balanced well by the cost of 1. So it goes Edge of Autumn, Vengeance Never Rests, Go Again, probably for 4 if you have Ira's ability active. And now they have an interesting prospect of needing to block for 4 or 5 to make sure this doesn't come in again for another 3, right? And then obviously just extra damage, extra chances to trigger the Iris of Blossom, everything else. You can't give it Go Again the second time.
Objection!
Good morning, or whatever the hell it is. This interruption is brought to you by a patron. I had erroneously given some information on a card called Vengeance Never Rests. It is this card right here. Let's go ahead and go over to it. There it is. It is Vengeance Never Rests. It is combo if Edge of Autumn was the last attack this combat chain, this gets Go Again. And when this hits a hero, banish it. You may play it this turn. I had erroneously said you could probably not give this Go Again, not realizing later on that I would be talking about how important those Okana Scar Wraps are. And they are for this card. So this has Vengeance in its name, right? And this is the problem with doing this off the cuff. But because this is for new players, I decided to put in some effort to this edit to show you that this is how the sequence works. Okay. Took a minute to get here. I did end up playing a practice game against myself to kind of like, I'm trying to learn how to play against Ira with Gravy Bones. But finally, now I have the example to show you how this works again. For the newer players, because I did make the mistake in the video, and I'm correcting it by showing you how this works. So you literally just go in. It doesn't matter who we try to hit. Just Gravy, pitch that Soul Bead, pass. I have it set, just for this example, I have my other computer to just pass everything, just so I can show you how it does work. So do keep in mind, when Vengeance Never Rests does say, when this hits a hero. So we can't be clearing a board with Vengeance Never Rests, but we can do some damage. So we're going to pass. We're going to choose the reaction of the Okana Scar Wraps. That gives Vengeance Never Rests +1. No further reaction required. That means it's coming in for 5 total since it was our second attack. Ira gives it +1. The Okana Scar Wraps gives it +1. Add a trigger to resolve. Doesn't matter, really. Resolve this. I don't need to resolve the Breeze Rider Boots. Pass. Would I like to destroy? No. Though the Breeze Rider Boots would also give Vengeance Never Rests Go Again for the turn, so that's kind of cool. Just pass those layers. Equip a Banished Edge of Autumn. Yes. So we get that Edge of Autumn back. Pass the layer there. And then Vengeance Never Rests, as you can see here, banishes itself. It's now in our banish zone. And now we can play it this turn, okay? So we don't have an instant to play right now, so we just pass. We could then follow up with Edge of Autumn. Just for the sake of this example, we're just going to keep attacking Gravy Bones. Another Edge of Autumn has attacked. It costed us this 1 resource. Choose a reaction. We can't use the Arcana Scar Apps or anything for the rest of the turn because it taps itself. So we just pass. Okay. And then... Wow, this turn is kind of nasty. So we could then again play Vengeance Never Rests again, which is pretty great. Choose a card to pitch. It would be Nip at the Heels. Pass. This one's only coming in for 3. Add a trigger to stack. Don't really care which one stacks. So we could just do this, this. Pass. We will do it this time just to show you the extent of this chain, right? Choose an instant, we won't. So we destroyed the Breeze Rider Boots to give our next Vengeance Never Rests go again, because we can't do the Edge of Autumn thing again. All right. So when we go to this, we can look at the chain links right here. That's Edge of Autumn. That's Vengeance Never Rests. That's Edge of Autumn. But as you can see here, Vengeance Never Rests was still the last chain link. Even though it's banished itself off the chain, that chain link is still active and it still remembers that it was Vengeance Never Rests. So regardless of the fact that on the board state, you will see that Edge of Autumn is the last attack there. Technically it's not, so remember that. So that's why we needed to give this go again to fully extend this chain. So we pass, no reactions required, no instants required, pass, and then we use the Tunic to get that second resource and sweep up the turn with a Command and Conquer. No reactions required. All right. So let's look at that last turn. Right, turn 5 shows 19 damage off of Vengeance Never Rests, Autumn's Touch, a Tunic counter, and any 2 for 6 in your deck. Could have been Humble, could have been literally anything, doesn't matter what it was. Pretty insane to be able to do that, and I just wanted to make sure, because this video is for new players, to include something like this for you guys, okay? Now, if you see NS.Holiday in the Discord for any of my patrons, any of the commenters, anything, thank him for this one. I did not catch this myself. He's the one who realized that you could extend this chain quite a bit. Back to the video. But, you know, pretty decent. I actually really like this value proposition. Let's look at Seek Vengeance. Blue, we saw this earlier in red. 2 attack, 3, 0. There's probably other choices I would have for this, but it's so easy to give this go again, and late game, a 0 for 2 go again is just devastating to most opponents if they're at really low life, because they have to give up a card for 2 attack. It's just not worth it most of the time. Here we have Flying Kick, 3 attack, 3 defense, just like the red one costs 2. Still gets the +2, and at that 3 attack at the end of the game, you could be looking at an attack for 5. That could close out a game pretty easily if you're familiar with how the end game for this Flesh and Blood game goes. I'm using the word game a lot. All right, Bittering Thorns blue. I'm a little less excited about this. It's still annoying because an opponent has to block it, otherwise it gives +1, so I don't hate it. But it's 1 cost, 2 defense, 2 attack, much like the red one. It's your next attack, it's +1 if it hits. I'm okay with these. These could be replaced pretty easily, though. Soulbead Strike blue is typically the one I like to run because it's 3 block, 3 resources, 0 cost. At the end of the game, it proposes to your opponent, you need to block this 2 damage or I'm going to get go again. And it's good chip damage. Again, with Ira, it comes to 3, and then with your reactions, they need to be blocking 4 or 5, if not more. Torrents of Tempo, same thing. Oh, here's a card. Legacy of Ikaru. Target ninja attack gets +1, and when this hits, if Edge of Autumn was the last attack this chain, draw a card. Okay, so that's kind of like storytelling about how Edge of Autumn is so precious to the Ikaru, and it shows all of her ancestors behind her on her crusade. The art's a little more cartoony than I would like personally, but it is very stylized and I don't hate it. Target ninja attack. Okay, so it costs 0 and it defends for 3 and it's a blue. Very good reaction card because it starts to do what I said with that Whirling Mist Blossom. Ira pumps it up to 3. This could pump it up to 4 and even draw you another card if Edge of Autumn was the first attack. So then you're drawing 3 cards. Very effective. Very cool. And a... Shit. And then, of course, the classic energy potion. They like to add those a lot of the time to some of these decks. I don't hate them as a choice, you know? You have a decent turn, 2 or 3 attacks, you end with an energy potion, and you just store it for a rainy day. It's a decent way to play the game. It's not high level most of the time. It's just not effective. There's other things you could be doing with that action point, but I don't hate it to help players learn the game. I think this is a very solid addition to the Armory Deck series. As we looked over, just really decent value. Like I told you, Ira likes to have really good defensive value and decent offensive value that gets on hits on those weird breakpoints like 4 and 5. No complaints here. I would give this probably... I don't have ratings. Maybe I should start doing ratings for the Armory decks. I'll retroactively think of them and put them right here. I'm going to put Ira at probably the best Armory deck made. It's able to get you into an Armory, and with correct play and you learning how to play better, you could very possibly take an Armory right now. There's a few decks that do a few things better, but there's nothing wrong with this deck right out the box. Okay. I like to check this out with you guys and see what they like to give you. Sometimes they make suggestions for upgrades and all of that. Ooh. All right, Armory deck Ira. Ira's relentless quest for vengeance is smeared with blood. Mostly not her own. It talks about the Whirling Mist Blossom. There's a how to play video, so if you do buy this deck, go ahead and check that out. It's Ira versus Gravy Bones, the thing I told you that she was almost probably built for, and I suspect released after. Right? They probably wanted to get people on Gravy Bones first. It goes over the cards that we've already seen and talked about. Does it make any recommendations? Oh, just where to, oh, there we go. Things like Erase Face are going to be talked about in this. It's a little expensive right now, but we're going to talk about cards like Erase Face. 2 cost, 6 power attacks work perfectly with your sword and hero ability to make them a 2 for 7. Correct. Sigil of Solace. Defense reactions are cool, but some foes like wizards gaining life in a pinch can be more useful. Kind of interesting, you know? Ancestral Empowerment will be talked about. Again, it's kind of expensive, so we'll see where it fits into your build path. And then booster packs, they want you to look at History Pack 1 for all of those classic ninja cards. Not a bad experience out of the box. I am very happy with what I see here. This is probably one of the best Flesh and Blood products I've seen. I'm a little annoyed that it doesn't have that how to play box, considering I think this came after the Armory Deck Gravy Bones. It would have been very nice to see that how to play and then how to break this into a Blitz deck. I don't like Blitz. I'm glad it didn't, but some players do, and it's an option. So here we have pulled up the Armory deck Ira. I made a copy of it, and it's just all the cards that we went over already. There's nothing new here, and we're gonna change it together. I like to build the deck in the spirit of the Armory deck because that's a specific vision they had, and it's a totally viable vision. There's nothing at all wrong with building the deck for Edge of Autumn. So let's start edging here. We're gonna keep that. I personally think you don't need to upgrade this yet in many ways for the equipment. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. If you have not seen an Enter the Armory, I like to break it apart with like month 1. I bought an Armory deck for $40 and I might want to try out the game and see what a little bit of money can do for me. And my first upgrade for almost all of my Armory decks is $100. If in a whole month of time of playing that deck, you like the deck that much, over that month you can spend $100 across a couple checks if you're able to pick up some of these cards that I will be recommending here. And to do that, we look at TCG Player or eBay, doesn't matter which one you use, however you prefer to get your cards. If you think you have a better repertoire on eBay or you think you have a better experience on eBay, use that. I have an eBay store, go ahead and check that out. I'm uploading cards by the thousands now. I've had a lot of time since the surgery, so those have been converted from Magic into Flesh and Blood because as my Magic sells out, I'm replacing it with Flesh and Blood. Also, we have a TCG player store as well, so check that out. 4 cards to be updated. There should be a lot of ninja stuff there. Now, we are going to look at upgrades, which means we need to take cards out, don't we? We are going to remove a few things I don't like right off the bat. I think we can do better than Bittering Thorns Blue. I think we can do better than... I don't like that Bittering Thorns Blue. I think we can do better than this Torrent of Tempo in the first 100. I think we can do better than this Scar for a Scar in the first 100. I think we can do better than this Give and Take, but that's not a bad card. I think we can do better than this Give and Take. Like, it's a very decent card. Flying Kick even. It's just, like I said, it's just expensive. And on that note, we could well, the blue one's okay because it's a good end game card. We'll see. We'll see. The rest of this looks okay to keep. I don't think we're keeping the energy potion LSS. Sorry for our first modifications. Okay, so with that, we've made our first cuts. I think we can probably also cut this. No, we'll move it to the inventory because it's got Arcane Barrier, and you're going to need some of that in your journey. Okay, so here we have 47 cards, which means we need 13 cards minimum added to this deck. Let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. I believe this is a huge card for Ira. It blocks for 3, costs 0, gives them a ninja attack action +1, and has you draw a card. I think this is a huge first pickup. There looks to be $11 each. Add those to cart. Again, we're spending $100, trying to do $100. So that's already 30 down ish, maybe a little more. That's 3 cards. We need 10 more cards. What can we do with 10 cards? Yeah, Nip at the Heels. Nip at the Heels. It's from the Hunted. It's a cheap little guy. Let's go ahead and go normal printing. This isn't like a promo or anything, is it? Cool. They have 1 million of them. And this is a target attack with 3 or less base power gets +1. When would we use that? Okay. So the Soulbead Strike, the Enact Vengeance can get that. The Flying Kick can get that. The Whirling Mist Blossom can get that. Most of these cards can get that. Even if they don't block an Edge of Autumn and they're at 2, just saying, target attack with 3 or less base power gets +1. So very versatile card, blocks for 3. I like that a lot. So we need 7 more cards. This is how you know Ira is getting popular, is Humble's starting to go up in price. So this is, as we talked about with that little scam that we did, right? It says a 2 for 6 is perfect with Ira's plan of Edge of Autumn, and then using her ability to create your second attack as a 2 for 7 with an on-hit. When this hits a hero, that hero loses all abilities until the end of turn. That can be devastating to like a Gravy Bones or most new heroes that really rely on their power. This turns off like Verdance, Florian. This turns off tons of stuff. So Humble's an easy pickup. $3 each. Let's just go ahead and throw that up there, okay? So we have the Soulbead Strikes in our deck, so we could think about Crane Dance. Let's take a look at this card together, okay? Crane Dance is a 3 attack, 3 defense, 0 attack combo. If Soulbead Strike was the last attack this combat chain, Crane Dance gets +1, go again, and it can't be defended by attack action cards with base power greater than the number of chain links you control. So very oftentimes it will be like, you can't block this with a card that has an attack more than like 4 or 5, okay? And then because this is most of the time probably not going to be chain link 2, it'll come in for 4 go again. Pretty decent value. It blocks better with Flick Flack. Has synergy with the Soulbead Strikes that are already in the deck. Interesting prospect. I think we can go ahead and try Crane Dance out. If this is cheaper, we will be going with this. Find Center is a 0 blue pitch, 3 defense. Already fantastic. Combo. If Crane Dance was the last attack this combat chain, Find Center can't be defended with cards that cost less than the number of chain links you control, which at the time you're at Find Center is probably most cards, right? Because most cards are going to cost less than like 3 or 4. And then if this hits, create a Zen State token. So this is a Zen State token. It says, it's a ninja token aura that says this enters the arena with a balance counter. At the beginning of your action phase, destroy this unless you remove a balance counter. If you would be dealt damage, prevent one of that damage. Very good against opposing, oh my god, it'd be so disgusting to hit that into a Syndra. And they would never be able to block the Find Center. So let's just find out if it's cheap enough, okay? And that fills up one of our blue slots as well. Done. Done all day. So let's see, we have 15 cards here, okay? So we have, at this point we would remove these 2 give and takes and we would just have the flat 60 card deck, right? And that is a pretty decent curve. We have Ancestral Empowerment to hit all these great ninja cards, even your new combo cards like Crane Dance, Heron's Dance, or not Heron's Flight, but Find Center, Whirling Mist Blossom, Seek Vengeance, all those can be hit by that. The Humble can't be hit by that, but your Humble has a different purpose. How much money have we spent so far? We're at $53. We're going to do this oldie, but a goodie. We're going to do Vest of the First Fist, only because Heart and Crosstrap requires an action, I think, right? Right, and that breaks the chain, which we don't like. So Vest could punish somebody being greedy about not blocking and give you those 2 resources for something like Humble or something like that. Just whenever an attack action you control hits. So that gives you a lot of resources later on in the chain, which I think is very good. It doesn't break the chain because it's a trigger. I think it's a totally fine chest replacement for the most part, and we'll put this in our inventory. Boots are for sure going to be in there. Nobody from our same person, so we just go that. For damage prevention and possible life gain. We could also put in, we'll just do that for now. And then we'll look at, God, you can fill a lot of this deck with $100 now that I'm looking at it. This is a super easy deck to build into. We're at $60 right now. I'm a big fan of adding this into basically every deck I'm playing right now. Because Prism is like the boogeyman that you don't see. There's not a lot of them floating around, but they're there, and they will annihilate whole competitions if you don't prepare for them. So we'll go ahead and grab that. You could grab a slightly better defensive package. You already have the Sink Belows, but these are okay to pack along in case you come into a Ranger or something like that. They kind of break the mold a little. We'll pick up 3 of those. Where are we at? Let's get 2 of those. There we go. I cheated a little. All right. Deck. At $101.29. Sorry. It was kind of hard because like the deck really is solid. It's kind of hard to find additions to this. But at $101.29 for your first month or 2 of spending, very cheap upgrades, very decent kit that will give you a very, very playable deck that could definitely win into multiple scenarios. Very aggressive. Good combo lines, good value damage lines, good answers to most crazy heroes that you're just not used to. Like if you just don't like their hero ability, you can just say, I'm going to turn that off while I think about that for a bit. Good go again options. Snatch, obviously, very valuable. Prismatic Leyline, you can get a little bit of use into with like Whirling Mist Blossom and some of the blue and red attacks. In fact... All right, this way we kind of possibly eke out a little bit of extra value out of those Prismatic Ley Lines, if at all possible. It's not always going to happen, but it's there. That is your first iteration of the Armory Deck Ira. That took a while. I don't see a lot of really viable options to upgrade this deck any further, really. Okay, so there's not a lot of room for upgrading this deck that's not going to be crazy expensive. So from here... That is why I like to save the real upgrades for later, is because here we have a cart in TCG Player or eBay that will roughly be around the same of about $100, $102, plus the $40 you spent on the Armory deck. By now, a month or so in of playing this deck and building that $100 upgrade path, you will know if you like this deck. If you do, let's go ahead and continue on to the second bit, okay? With the second upgrade path, it's very easy. It's just huge cards that are very valuable throughout the rest of the game. And with that, we actually relegate some of these to the inventory while we figure out what we need out of our deck. So we put Humble in the inventory. We put the Flick Flack in the inventory. At this point in time, we will be removing Razor Reflex. Okay. Now we're moving on to the, I don't know how much of an upgrade this is going to be, but this is probably going to be the final upgrade you're going to need to do for this deck. We're going to remove that. The crane dances have served their purpose. You only spent about $1 or $2 on these things. They're okay to get removed right now. Okay, they were just to kind of get you into the game and get you moving along. So we'll remove that. The fine center can go. The crane dances can go. We'll be keeping the soul bead strike though, because 0 for 4 on hit go again is super good value. And then we'll go ahead and rework from this initial 47 again. Our inventory has expanded quite a bit to be more flexible. Okay, we need 11 cards, and I know just which ones we're getting. Sensors are crazy expensive. I don't know what to tell you. This is another $105. Another $105 right out the gate. Sensors, okay? Because it comes in 1 for 6 right after, or a 1 for 5 as a chain ender that says when this hits a hero, name a card. They can't play the named card during their next turn. After a month or so of playing, you're going to know your local meta, and you're going to know what they like to play. Start hitting them with the counter, okay? The next upgrade is going to be that card that upgrade QR link showed you. All right, we're going to do this erase face. $15 each, not too shabby. We're going to add 2 separate cards. It's going to cost a little bit in shipping, but that's fine because the first one is free. These go in the inventory because they're not always useful, but they're useful sometimes. Okay? And this is kind of where the sideboard style of Ira starts to come into her own. Okay? Let's see here with... That's 72 cards. We have our erase faces. We have our humbles, blanches. I didn't put the sensors in here yet, but those are main deck. Those are always going to be in the deck. So that seals up some of that. Rowdy Locals actually is very good. Perfect. Perfect. I don't feel too bad about recommending this right off the bat. 3, done. Rowdy Locals. Deck. That's a good replacement right there. What Rowdy Locals does is if it's defended by an action card, it gets +2. If it's your second turn, it goes +1 on top of that. So it's 5 total attack. When this hits a hero, discard a card. If you do, they discard a card. Super decent. 0 pitch, 3 block. Good on hit effect. Very annoying to defend against. Can get prismatic ley lined pretty well. Totally good. Totally good. F it. We're going weakest link. All right. There's going to be 2 in the inventory right there. That's 80 cards. This is going to be very good against some of your worst matchups. The Wizards. Even better against Gravy Bones. Very, very capable to be put into the deck against that. It's just getting better and better. If they ever reprint Mystic Heroes, it's just disgusting to have this card, and that price will spike even harder. So let's go ahead and see where we're at. So this is your upgraded version of the Armory deck after your second upgrade. This is, you've played for a month. You're kind of getting into your second month, maybe your third, right? 3 months in, and you have spent $400. Not too bad, honestly, when you look at it. If every month you're spending like $130 on this game, if you can, not everybody can do that, but if you're able to, or have other games that you can trade into, $130 a month, start hitting these upgrades, start hitting these huge cards. That's $400 over the course of 3 to 4 months. You will have a very, very good serviceable deck that you can win with, hit those big decks with, and with enough practice and play, I am confident in your ability to really have fun all of the time with this deck. There's only a few upgrades left, and this is always the last portion of every Enter the Armory, is you're 6 months into the game, and you just need to tip yourself over into just absolute perfect versions of this deck. There's only one way to go, okay? At this point, we're going to remove these snatches. Okay? That clears up 3 cards. We are then going to probably remove... It has to happen if you want the best version of this deck. Command and Conquers. 6 attack, 3 defense, cost 2. That's the Ira special. Defense reaction cards can't be played to this chain link. Very effective and devastating. When this hits a hero, destroy all cards in their arsenal. Now you have 2 effects that do that on top of it. Enact Vengeance. Too good. You can't hit it with Okana Scar Wraps, unfortunately, but that's totally fine. And then for the last card after that, we go ahead and get rid of the Vest of the First Fist finally and get a Tunic. And we replace these Null Rune Boots with a cheap card, but it's just an efficiency thing. Okay. Tide Flippers. You probably also get rid of these for the Breeze Rider boots. You can give any of these cards go again if they have combo. Very decent. Very decent. Okay. So let's see what that brings us up to, okay? That's really not too bad. Let's just get the cheapest one we can, okay? 111. Way better than I thought it was going to be, to be honest with you. 65 from History Pack. Interesting. Interesting prospect. 2 and nice. Way better than I thought that was going to be, actually. Okay. This is the story of a girl. Tunic, Breeze Riders. Oh, I removed one more card. So we can go ahead and throw one more card in here. And that'll just be another weakest link. F it. Just throw in a third one. Doesn't matter. Alright, you're 6 months to a year into this game. This is what your deck looks like. This says your deck, you're spent about $800. This also agrees with that. Okay. You've added 3 Command and Conquers. Huge, powerful card. Generic. From here on out, you can use those Command and Conquers in every deck you have going forward. Weakest links. All of these powerful generic cards, and that is one of the coolest parts about suggesting a new player to get Ira, is she feeds on these giant generic cards, okay? So later on in your career, you have Command and Conquers, Sensors, Prismatic Ley Lines, Rowdy Locals. You have all these really powerful generic cards that cost a decent amount of money. And now you have them. Over your 6-month to 7-month journey, you have them. You have the Find All Spring Tunic, a generic chest piece that says at the start of your turn, if this has fewer than 3 energy counters, you may put an energy counter on it. Instant, remove 3 energy counters, gain a resource. Blade Break 1. It's invaluable. It may not seem like that much to outsiders outside of the game. Waiting 3 turns for a resource, or a mana in many words, or an energy, seems weird. It's amazing in this game, okay? That is your totally built Armory deck, Ira. Like I said, Command and Conquer, Sensors, Find All Spring Tunics, Rowdy Locals, Erase Faces. You have Weakest Links, Humble. You have all these generic options to now pivot off of Ira should you ever tire of her. If that's not your jam, or She Living Legends, you have all these huge generic staples to move on to the next deck with. That is my take on how to build Armory deck Ira, right? Ira the Scarlet Revenger. That's my take on how to build this Armory deck out from $40 to $800. We started with a $40 deck. We added $100 to it. Then we added another $300 after that. So in the first month, we spent $40 on the deck and an additional $100 on some of those quick upgrades. In the 3rd to 4th month, we've added another $300 to the deck. Okay, so 4 months of this deck has given us a lot of fun, a lot of game time, a lot of fun with our friends, Armory nights, all this fun for $400. Okay, pretty decent. And then over the course from 6 months to a year, all we've done is added another $400, and that's $800 spent total on this deck, and a year of entertainment, collectible cards that we can resell, or generic staples, because that's what Ira plays, to move on to the next deck that will be even cheaper than that, because now we already have our Command and Conquers and our Find All Spring Tunics, our Weakest Links, anything we could possibly need, we already have. That's Enter the Armory, Ira, the Scarlet Revenger. Go ahead and check this out. It's going to be at most of your local game stores, or at least online, something like that. Thanks for chipping into this one. This one is zeroed.